Welcome to my story.
Assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. Prepare yourselves, because today I'm bringing you a story that will stay with you long after it ends. This isn't just a scripted tale, it is a 100% true, spine-chilling encounter shared by one of my loyal subscribers. Every single detail you are about to hear is a raw, first-hand account of a reality most people refuse to believe exists.
Before we dive into the darkness, if you're a fan of authentic paranormal mysteries, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. You don't want to miss a single one of our weekly true horror uploads. I urge you to watch until the very end, as the conclusion of this story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the world around us.
My name is Alex, and I'm from a quiet, middle-class family. This incident took place about 8 years ago, but its memory is so vivid it feels like it happened only yesterday. I had always dreamed of studying at a prestigious university, and my joy knew no bounds when I was accepted into a renowned institution in a historic old city. My parents pooled their savings to support me, and with dreams of a bright future, I arrived at the university. Since the campus was on the outskirts of the city, commuting daily was not an option. I applied for a spot in the university dorms. There were 3 residence halls. 2 were modern and new, and 1 was an ancient, Gothic-style building dating back to the late 19th century, known to everyone as the Old Wing. Unfortunately, all the spots in the new buildings were taken, and I was assigned a room in the Old Wing. My room was on the 4th floor, at the very end of the hall, room 404. The moment I first stepped into that building, a strange sense of cold and decay washed over me. The air was thick with the smell of dust and damp wood. The corridors were long and dimly lit by flickering fluorescent lights that cast long, dancing shadows, and the old wooden floorboards groaned under the weight of every step, as if complaining. My room was a corner unit. It was surprisingly spacious, with 2 single beds, 2 worn-out wooden desks, and a large, imposing iron wardrobe that stood in the corner like a silent, dark sentinel. I was assigned a roommate, Sam, but he wasn't due to arrive for another week. The trouble began shortly after Sam moved in. He was a cheerful, fun-loving guy, the complete opposite of my more reserved nature, and we quickly became good friends. For the first couple of weeks, things were normal, but one night, as we were lying in our beds talking, the single light bulb in our room suddenly began to flicker violently before going out completely, plunging us into darkness. We assumed it was just faulty wiring, common in an old building. But soon, other small, strange things started happening. I'd find a book I left on my desk inexplicably moved to a different spot. Sam's phone charger would vanish, only to reappear in the most unlikely place, like inside a shoe. We laughed these things off as our own forgetfulness or as practical jokes we were playing on each other. The real terror, however, began one night when I was studying for a particularly difficult exam. Sam was already sound asleep, his soft snores filling the otherwise dead silence of the room. It must have been around 2 a.m. when I heard it, a whisper right behind me. It was so faint, like a wisp of air brushing past my ear. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. I spun around in my chair, but there was nothing there, just the quiet darkness of the room. I took a deep breath, telling myself it was just my tired mind playing tricks on me. I turned back to my book, but my focus was shattered. A few moments later, I heard it again, this time a little clearer, as if someone was forming a word, my name. Alex. A wave of ice-cold fear washed over my entire body. I looked over at Sam. He was still fast asleep, oblivious. I mustered every ounce of my courage and scanned the entire room, my eyes darting into every shadow, but we were the only ones there. Terrified, I slammed my book shut, turned off the desk lamp, and scrambled into bed, pulling the covers over my head like a child, reciting every prayer I could remember until I drifted into an uneasy sleep. A few nights later, Sam went home for the weekend, leaving me alone in the room. I tried to keep myself busy, watching movies on my laptop to distract from the oppressive silence. I eventually fell asleep with my headphones on, I woke up abruptly in the dead of night, a feeling of intense dread washing over me. I sat up and saw something that made my blood run cold. The empty bed across from mine, Sam's bed, had a deep, distinct impression in the middle of the mattress, exactly as if a heavy, invisible person was sitting on it watching me. The sight was so horrifying, so unnatural, that I couldn't even scream. My throat was paralyzed with fear. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying for morning to come. When Sam returned, I told him everything. He could see the sheer terror on my face, and his usual jokey demeanor faded. The strange events escalated. We'd hear frantic scratching sounds from inside the iron wardrobe. Loud, aggressive banging would erupt on our door in the middle of the night, but when we'd look through the peephole, the corridor was always empty. This was the last straw. We went to the warden, Mr. Davison. He was a stern, no-nonsense man with a permanent scowl. He listened to our entire story with a look of growing impatience, a smirk playing on his lips. When we finished, he let out a loud, condescending laugh. Ghosts? Really? You're university students, not children. Focus on your studies instead of indulging in these childish fantasies, he said, waving a dismissive hand at us. Dejected and frustrated, we left his office. It was then that I thought of Arthur, the old groundskeeper who had been working at the university for over 40 years. I found him sweeping leaves near the old wing and cautiously asked him about room 404. As soon as he heard the room number, the color drained from his face. He stopped sweeping, glanced around nervously as if afraid of being overheard, and pulled me into a shadowy corner behind a large pillar. "Son, you need to get out of that room," he whispered, his voice trembling with a deep old fear. "That room is cursed," he continued, his eyes wide. 20 years ago, a student named Julian lived there. He was a brilliant boy, a scholarship student, always at the top of his class. His parents had incredibly high expectations, but during his final exams, he had one terrible paper. The pressure was too much. He became convinced he would fail and bring shame upon his family. My heart sank as I listened, the pieces falling into place. On the day the results were posted, Arthur said, his voice barely a whisper, he found out he had in fact failed that one course. That same night, he hung himself from the ceiling fan in that very room. Now everything made a terrifying kind of sense. We immediately submitted another application to change rooms, but the administration was slow, and our final exams were upon us. We had no choice but to stay. The activity became relentless. One night as we studied, the books on our desks began to tremble. Then, one by one, they were violently flung across the room, hitting the far wall with loud thuds. "Alex, what's happening?" Sam screamed, diving under his desk. The haunting reached its terrifying climax during a fierce thunderstorm just 2 days before our final paper. The wind howled like a mourning beast, and rain lashed against the window. The power went out, plunging the entire building into darkness. We lit some candles, their small flames dancing nervously. Suddenly, the door of the old iron wardrobe swung open with a violent jerk and slammed shut with a deafening bang. It started happening over and over, faster and faster, each slam echoing like a gunshot in the silent room. The temperature in the room plummeted until we could see our own breath, and the air grew heavy, charged with a malevolent energy. We huddled together on my bed, clutching each other in pure, unadulterated terror. Our hearts were pounding in our chests, so loud we could hear them over the storm. We were trapped, helpless. Just then, a massive flash of lightning illuminated the room for a split second, bleaching everything in a ghostly white light. In that brief moment, we saw it. A human-like shadow was hanging in the middle of the room, right where the ceiling fan was. Its form was indistinct, but its head was cocked at an unnatural angle. And then, it spoke. Its voice was a broken, agonized whisper that seemed to echo directly inside our minds, filled with endless pain. "My paper. I didn't want to fail. Help me." As we started screaming prayers out loud, the chaos intensified. Then, just as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. A dead, profound silence fell over the room. Even the storm outside seemed to hold its breath. Shaking, our gaze fell upon the window. On the glass, fogged up from the rain and cold, a single spectral finger had traced a message, the letters dripping with condensation like tears. The words are burned into my memory for all time. "Get out. You'll fail too." That was the final warning. We didn't wait another second. We scrambled off the bed, grabbed nothing but our wallets and phones, and fled the room. We ran barefoot down the dark, empty corridor, our panicked footsteps echoing in the silence, not daring to look back. The next morning, we packed our bags and left the keys on the warden's desk. We spent the remaining night sleeping on the floor of a friend's room. We were traumatized, barely able to sleep or eat. We somehow scraped through our final exams. We later found out from Arthur that after our incident, the university administration finally took action. Room 404 was permanently sealed. They bolted a heavy steel plate over the door and put up a sign, warning everyone to stay away. They say that even now, years later on some nights, a faint, solitary light can be seen in its window. And if you walk down that fourth-floor corridor late at night, you can sometimes hear the faint, heartbreaking sound of someone sobbing from behind its sealed door.
Hope you found this true story chilling. What are your thoughts on this encounter? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, please like this video and subscribe for more true horror.